Folks, we have a surprise guest returning to the channel. We have the one and only Cody Barton. Cody, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Great to be here, Michael.
Oh man, I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. For folks that you don't know Cody, shame on you. But Cody, give a quick intro who you are, what you do in the community that you are a key member of.
Yeah, so like Michael said, my name is Cody Barton. I'm 29, here in, suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. Some of you probably know my business partner more than myself, which is Pace Morby. And, we do a lot of different things, a lot of creative finance. We're very big in the business, space as far as building different companies and newer ventures as far as buying companies as well now. And also obviously for a lot that know Pace, big contributor to the sub 2 community, and helping with the masterminds that Pace runs there, and a lot of different things. So
Yeah, these are my words, not yours. So again, no offense to anyone. If it is, it's unintended. Pace is the visionary. He's the mouthpiece. He's out in front. He's the rainmaker, in my opinion.
yeah.
You're the operator. You're the guy that takes all of this and makes it go. And sometimes I'm sure it feels like you're juggling 100 balls and he throws you a couple of more. But near as I can tell, you always make it work. And I think your guys' is yin and yang, or whatever you want to call that, is a model a lot of people should strive for, because without you, frankly, there is no Pace, at least not to the level that he is today, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a dynamic partnership, and it's definitely the best partnership I've ever been involved in. And I think a big part of that is because we're so different, and we bring very different things to the table. And it's like everything Pace loves to do, I don't like to do, and everything I love to do, Pace doesn't like to do. So it's just so amazing in that regard, because it's like I love building the teams and like working in the operations and like helping see those things grow and change. And he doesn't like to do that, and he loves to travel and speak at events and like run around and shake hands and kiss the babies and do all of that. And I'm like, I don't, it's not that I don't like people. It's just like I'm more shy. I'm more of an introvert.
Right.
It's like networking events, you'll find me hiding like in the
The
corner.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then people come up to me and I'll talk to them. So it's like, and it's actually a really funny dynamic if me and him are at events together, because I'll be like kind of hanging out by myself, and he just, anytime he meets someone that could help our business, he just brings them to me and then introduces, and then so that actually is great.
Well, the reason I wanted to go here first is Pace put out a video. I watched it it's probably been a week. It basically said that housing was a bloodbath in 2022 for flippers. He told a
Mhm.
story in that video. The summary is he went into a couple of deals that he thought he'd make 500,000. By the time they closed, he lost 500,000. Right. So,
Mhm.
so painful. But where I want to go to is you and I were talking on the phone, periodically, maybe once a quarter, once every couple of months during this time frame. And you're basically like, Michael, it's changing right now. Right. What should we do? Should we, all these things. So I think what Pace was really bringing to bear was the results of, some of our conversations, a year prior or 9 months prior. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, definitely is. And the interesting thing is that was something, as soon as I saw like interest rates starting to change, I don't have that high, a super high risk tolerance. I mean, you could argue I do, I guess, in some ways, but in other ways I don't. Like, I don't like to, gamble when the market's shifting. And it's very, it's been very interesting to watch, because some of our friends, without saying names, like kept going hard on fix and flips,
Yeah.
and some of them are getting just hammered. And there's still guys out there that are doing really well too. So I don't want people to think that, hey, everyone is suffering and no one's making any money, because I
No.
have some good friends here that are absolutely crushing it, but they're focused on the low income housing type stuff, or manufactured homes, and very entry level stuff. So that stuff is still doing really well right now.
Yeah, well, I tried to warn people. I think you heard me say it many times, right? The farther you get above the median price, the riskier it gets. And if you were
Yeah.
doing luxury flips, you had multiple luxury. I mean, that's going to be painful. And I think that's
Yeah.
what's happening now.
Oh yeah. Those days on market on those are getting nasty. And so it's,
Yeah,
you know, I would
triple
not want to
digits.
be I would not want to be I would not want to be in that game right now.
Yeah, and again, one of the things I think it's fair to say is you watch my daily financial news and you took action. And what I got from our conversations last year is you were actively pulling back from that segment, right? You were, it's not that you
Yeah.
stopped. I'm not trying to make that sound, but you actively pivoted from above the median, certainly way above the median, right? You could have done more deals, but you stopped or at least greatly reduced. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, unless they're like slam dunk flips, like we're not buying them. You know, we're mainly more focused on buying and holding right now. But if we get a slam dunk deal that maybe a joint venture partner brings to us, it's like, we're not allergic to money, so we're gonna do the deal. But
Yeah.
it's like, but it's like it has to be just such a
Yeah.
no-brainer,
Yeah.
right
The buy
now.
box is really tight today.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, the other side of the video with Pace, which I thought was awesome, and I said a year ago, maybe even 18 months ago, the sub two or creative financing business the next several years. This is like 1981, 1982 all over again, right? Where rates shot up and the only deals getting done were creative.
Yeah.
And I think your team community is in the sweet spot for sub two. I mean, you've always done sub two deals for years past, but I've got to think the volume is going up. And frankly, there's no end in sight. I think the next year the volume goes up from here. But you're in the business. What are you seeing?
Yeah, there's significantly, I mean, I don't want to say there's more opportunity, but it's more of a strategy people are using because it's like you could do seller carry sub twos, you could do cash deals in any market. It's just some markets are better to do different ones than
Yep.
others, right? It's just a tool in your tool belt essentially.
Correct.
Anyway, so it's it's something where we've seen people have significant success, especially as the rates have went up. And for us, it's there's just more sellers that are open to that conversation and more agents that are
Yeah.
open to that conversation. And, it's really because it's like, well, what's the other option? Because,
Exactly.
like you talk about in the daily financial news, people have, they aren't selling for fun, right? Like if they're selling, like most people that are selling now, they have to sell either to move for a job, they have to sell because they need to move into a bigger home. Maybe they inherited the property from family. Like most of the people selling now are selling because they have to for one reason or another, not because they want to. And there's still a small market of people that are selling because they just want to, but it's like there's not as many of those because people don't want to go from 3% interest to seven. It's like that's not a winning. Even if you're going into downsize, like going from a
Yeah.
lower payment on a bigger home to then moving into half the size and paying more, is like no.
No, I'll
So
stay put. Thank you very much. I'll
yeah,
get a room.
yeah.
I'll get a roommate. It's funny you bring that up. A couple people on my channel were the baby boomer single person in a big house, and they were going to downsize and like doesn't make financial sense. But what they did is they house hacked it like 65, right? They got a roommate and they're like,
That's
oh, this is
funny.
even better. Now I have somebody to talk to. And this, I mean, there's lots of things that you could do. I am curious about the Phoenix market. Obviously, last year this time I think inventory exploded because all the
Mhm.
iBuyers were running to the exits at the same time. Now that that's kind of worked itself out, it seems that inventory is just on a one-way slope down, but maybe
Yeah,
8% is changing that. I don't know what's going on.
it's crazy because we got almost up to 20,000 homes on the market fall of last year, and now we're back down to close to 10,000. I think it was like
Wow.
11,000 last time I checked. And so its inventory is it's slowly just trickling down all through the beginning of this year up until it's summer obviously now. And it's interesting because I thought during spring there's going to be more listings, and I was a little bit nervous because I'm like, we're around 20,000 in the fall. More listings are probably going to come up in the spring, and it just
Mm,
was slowly going down the whole time. So it's that didn't happen. And so
yeah.
I then that's where I still feel pretty confident here as far as with inventory and prices. Not I don't see like a massive drop or anything like that coming. And something else interesting is two big areas of expansion for the valley here. There's a city called Buckeye, and then another city, Queen Creek, and a bordering city of there, Santan Valley. And the governor just pulled any new water permits from being able to go in those cities.
I saw that.
Yeah, and so with that, I mean, those were like the expansion points. You know, it's like the cities have already been kind of like built, and
Ah,
it's like those are the areas going out of town. And when they're not allowing more growth going out of town, it's like, where's that inventory going to come from?
yeah, that's wild. That's wild. So is Phoenix like most of the other markets I talked to? What is the median in Phoenix? Like 450, 480? I'm just
Yeah,
guessing.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, mid
yeah.
fours.
So would it be fair to say if you were going to flip, you'd have a flip exit at the ARV sub 450, it's done right, it's going to go. If you're
Yep,
2x that, it's going to sit. Kind of that's the story.
yep, yeah. That's pretty much the story. Like, I have one of my good friends, Danny. They're very, they wholesale 15 plus houses a month here in mobile homes and stuff in the valley, and they're real guys that really do that, and it's like mostly direct to seller. And that's the area that they're still seeing really good success in is, I do some private lending and I'll lend on some of their deals. And it's like this one I funded for them last month, buying this manufactured home on owned land for 120,000, ARV's 275. It's
Mm.
like these are, and those deals are moving still because there's nothing else to buy. There's literally nothing else to buy in those price ranges here.
Yeah, it really is. It's funny. I forget who the gentleman was, but there was a broker in Houston. I talked about on the Daily Financial News. He went into his market and created 5 or 6 price points, and then did a heat map. It went from scorching red at the low end to ice cold at the high end, and I think that's a really summary for most markets right now.
Yeah,
Um, pretty wild.
that's where
So
we're
I
standing to.
yeah, so I am curious when you look at the rest of the year. I am sensing a playbook that's kind of a repeat of last year, right? If you remember last year, Q4, it got really, really slow. Flippers got really, really hurt with deals they were closing now that they tried to exit in December. So
Hmm.
I'm really trying to throw up a word of caution. Like, do you guys remember last year? Don't do that again, right? This is not a time. And if we do have rates above 7 and who knows, go to 8, it's only going to get slower the farther you get away from entry level. Are you seeing that?
Oh yeah, that's I for the new house that I'm moving into, I have a buddy that, he did a lot of luxury flips was his model. And I was I had him come stop by my new house, and we were talking about, the flooring and stuff because he focused on luxury, so he had some expertise there that I don't
Mhm.
have because I never focused on luxury.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I was talking with him, and he's like, yeah, they had like one last luxury flip. It was like a 2.6 million exit price like earlier this year. And he's like, dude, he's like, we got hammered on that thing. And but before they were doing well with them. They're making 400 grand, 500 grand, a pop, doing a few of those a year. It's like you don't have to do that many of those to make
Yeah.
great money.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And so we're definitely seeing especially in the higher end here is like really really slow. One thing that I've been tracking, just because as I've been looking for a new home for myself personally for the last probably 4 or 5 months, is there's the really nice inventory that's super nice luxury inventory is still selling kind of fast, but it's usually all cash buyers. Like we're not really
Right.
seeing a lot of financed transactions in the higher end. So if you have a great property that is dialed in, and there's still multiple offers sometimes on some of that stuff.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, the housing market is really interesting. The economy is really interesting. The big thing that I really take from you, Cody, is you're constantly a steward of the economy and what's going on. You understand, but you're not fearful. You pivot to reduce risk, right? You are conservative, but you're also a risk taker. What I mean by that is you just keep moving forward, right?
Yeah,
You control the downside, uh, but you keep moving forward. So that's fun to watch.
yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like it's like that yin and yang thing. It's like pace of like trying to drive us forward on certain things, and then me like, thinking how do we, we pull back. And like one of the things that that we're actively shopping for, we want to buy a new commercial space, new office. And you know we generate a lot of revenue out of a 3,600 square foot office that we're currently in. And so, I because of the conversation with like office space is like, okay, well, can you, I want to be as productive in as small of a space as possible before we move into a bigger space,
Mm-hmm.
And so we're looking at some bigger spaces, more so we could actually do events in our office space, and have a podcast studio, and like have all of that in one space. And so that's kind of what we're looking for. And so like on that regard, I am risk adverse and a little bit nervous about going into that space, but we'll probably do 25 to 30% down on whatever we buy, and be conservative into what we're moving into, and not assuming that things are going to be great over the next few years. And there's a lot of investors that probably wouldn't agree with this, but our thought process on our office spaces is like, we're paying a lot towards extra like principal payments on our current office, and we will do the same on the other one. Doesn't make any sense on paper to some people. They're like, why you arbitrage the interest? You could make more of a return. I'm like, yes, that is true, but there's also sleeping well at night, and being able to be so financed in our deals, and be at such low LTVs on stuff that we own, that like we have really strong control and decision making power, and we're not making decisions at the whim because of us being over leveraged on different deals. And if the interest rates in the office space market just continues to go down, we're not going to be SOL when we have to refi in 5 years or whatever.
Well, I don't know. I don't know this for certain, but I have a strong suspicion, given how tight the office market is and how values are getting crushed. You guys are going to put together a pretty sweet deal for yourself. So we'll be watching for that. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to happen. Well, we're going to talk about something super interesting in video number 2, Cody. But before we get to that, how should people find you, follow you? Where should we send them?
Yeah, so on Instagram, Cody Barton official, and then you could search just Cody Barton on YouTube. I am not the football player Cody Barton that plays for the Seahawks or whatever team he plays for, unfortunately. But the other guy.
So not the big football guy. That's not you.
Yeah. So you can find me on there, and then I recently launched a podcast called Pace actually came up with a name. That's Not My Job: An Introvert's Guide to Building a Business Beyond Yourself. Really kind of showing people.
I love that.
Yeah.
What is the name one more time?
That's Not My Job: An Introvert's Guide to Building a Business Beyond Yourself. Really out of inspiration of, we help a lot of people go from like just solopreneur of holding all of the jobs to like relinquishing some of that control, and, kind of building a team. So that's a lot of the conversations.
That is pretty awesome. That's pretty cool. Well, Cody, thank you very much for being here. We're going to have fun with video number 2. Take care.
Awesome.